our sense of the world. To make sense of the world. World peace through individual strength, waking your world up, physically, mentally, spiritually, metaphorically, figuratively, and then physically again. Objectively feel good on the Only No Nonsense podcast. Brought to you by the Best Feeling Network. Good morning. This is July 9th, 2021, Friday. Good morning. It is Friday, July 9th, 2021. How are you? How are you doing this morning? Are you able to feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches? When? At all of the times. Then are you feeling the front of your shins? Remember that you do not sit on your legs. I'm your host, Herbie. And this is absolutely how go on. Feeling so great out there as the world tries to test your patience. Welcome back to another Freedom Friday. How go on? They will never take us alive. We're gonna feel great today on to Freedom Friday. We might even run this chorus back again. The world's gonna test us, guys. The world's gonna freaking test us. Good morning, y'all. What do we mean the world's gonna test us? I mean, don't you have those days where you wake up and it's just off the wrong side of the bed or something? Or doesn't it just feel like every day there's always something trying to test you? There's always something from the yesterdays saying like, hey, I'm gonna ruin your day today. We always get that, right? There's always something coming up from the day before that's gonna ruin it. It's gonna try to ruin your day. Right? We all go through that. We all go through that. Thank you for the host, Herbie. Like, don't we all go through those times where it just feels like you can't quite get ahead of the day? Something from the yesterday is always chasing you. There's a video that's not showing up. There's some kind of change up from the day yesterday, and now you have to adjust to it and make adjustments to today because the thing yesterday is no longer the way it's supposed to be. And you're like, hey, I left it that way and now it's no longer that way. Why? And then it just feels like the world's against you, right? Things are moved out of your place. Things get moved around you. Relationships change around you. People change up on you. Sometimes the things that you leave in your house one day will be there, and then you look back at it and it's not there and you're like, what is going on? Why can't I keep my head on straight? Well, we want you to feel free here on Freedom Fridays. What are we here for? What are we here for? Not just on Freedom Fridays, but what are we here for on Pal Go On? What is this? Why do you look like that? Why are you inside out? Why are you inside out? Why do you look like that? Why are you inside out like that? Well, we're using our sense of the world. We're using our sense of the world. As in, you have a superpower. What are we here on Pal Go On to do? We'll wake you up spiritually, physically, In the morning, stretch your self-awareness like a muscle. Make you feel amazing in the mornings. Why? Because when you feel good, you think good, and when you think good, you do good. When you do good for yourself, you do good forever for yourself. So if you could feel good all the time, that's what we here are about. That's what we are here about on Pal Go On. And thank you again, Herbie Like, for that host. We here on Pal Go On are here to use our sense of the world to feel great. To feel great. We're using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. As in which sense, Herbie? As in our vision? As in our hearing? No. Take heart, my friend. Not just your vision, not just your taste, not just your hearing, not just your smell, not just your touch, not just your 5 senses, but take heart, my friend. You actually have 6 senses. What do we mean by that? Do we mean that you can see dead people? Maybe. If you look in a history book, you can definitely see dead people. You do not need a 6th sense for that. Your 6th sense, what is this? It's significant, first of all. But second of all, what is it? I'm not gonna hide the ball from you. What is your 6th sense? Your 6th sense is kinesthesia. Your sense of self. As in, aren't there some days when you wake up off the side of the bed and you are waking up off the good side of the bed? Versus the days where you wake up the bad side of the bed. What is the difference there? Which of your senses is grounding that feeling there? Is it your touch? Is it your touch that is grounding that feeling of waking up off the wrong side of the bed or waking up off the good side of the bed? When you wake up this morning, and you get a good stretch for your body, and you feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches following these blue lines, and into the sit bones at all the times, and then remembering that you do not sit on your legs. Push those knees inwards and feel the front of the shins. As you are feeling your weight being transferred into the proper weight-bearing portions of your body. In the mornings, how does your body feel? Which of your senses grounds the sensation of your kinesthetic sense of how you feel that day? Your 6th sense, right? Your sense of self. Is it your hearing or is it your smell that ground this feeling of like waking up the wrong side of the bed? Like you wake up at the wrong side of the bed, you smell the morning, I woke up off the wrong side of the bed. No, is it your vision? Do you get out of bed and then you kick your feet out of the bed, you take the blanket off, and then you look around, you're like, I got off the wrong side of the bed using my eye sockets, using my eye vision. I know I got off the wrong side of the bed. Is it that the sense? No. It's the 6th sense, right? The 6th sense of kinesthesia, your sense of self, your overall body's sense of balance itself. Sense of balance within itself. Its relationship to itself, right? How does it feel to try to feel the front of the spine? Did you just do the dirty last night and now so there's maybe some embarrassment in your body? Maybe some self-shame? So maybe it's hard to feel the weight of the body down in front of the spine. It's not a problem. It's not an issue. Especially now that we just know what it is. Right? So we have this 6th sense, right? That grounds the other senses. We have this 6th sense, a sense of self. How your left arm feels different than your right arm. How you know that your head feels different than your feet, right? Your sense of self. Some days it feels good, some days maybe not so good. Right? But here on Pal Go On, we have an objective way of feeling good. Objectively feel good. I'm the only no nonsense podcast. Brought to you by the Best Feeling Network. Objectively feel good. What if we just acknowledge the fact that you do have this 6th sense, right? On here on Pal Go On, we acknowledge that you here do have this 6th sense. You superpowered human being, you superpowered godlike creature, you have this sense of self, something that we've been ignoring for thousands of years or hundreds of years. So you would not be remiss, or you would not be in the fault to not be talking about this. Nobody talks about this, but it is a constant in our lives, our sense of self. We don't have a language for it, and that's an issue, because language does define our world. As in, do we use language to define our world like magicians? Like, Expelliarmus, boom, 6th sense, now you have a 6th sense. Bam, now you have a 7th sense. Bam, now you have an 8th sense. Nah, not really. More like we got language, so we use it to help describe it to each other, our own experience, so we can help each other, you know? So what is our description of our world? We truly do have a 6th sense. Check me. Check me. Check me. Am I wrong? Is there another sense that we ground ourselves in, right? That you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Is it your touch? Is it your sense of touch? Is it your sense of taste? Nay, it is not in either of these, right? It is that sixth one, you godlike creature you. It is that sixth one that grounds this feeling of whether or not you woke up at the right side of the bed or the wrong side of the bed. Or that feeling of butterflies in your stomach. That feeling of anxiety. That feeling of, I don't want to work today. That feeling of, I don't want to walk over and talk to this person. They make me nervous. What is that? Where is it grounded? In your sense of self. Your sense of balance. Your relationship with your own body, right? Your relationship of yourself to feel yourself in its proper places. In the places that are meant to be felt at certain times. Well, Herbie, isn't my body supposed to be meant to be felt all the time? Yeah, but there's some guidance, right? Same way that a bike, you guide the wheels to move forward so that you have freedom to move with the bike. Otherwise, if the wheels were not straight to their design, you would not go anywhere. So what kind of freedom is that? So here on Freedom Fridays, I'm Pago On, using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. We are able to add this extra sixth sense of kinesthesia, of the sense of self. And then now, see what happens as our perspective on the world metamorphosizes as we integrate this idea. That's what we're here to do on Pago On. Reintegrate this version of yourself with yourself. Become united with thyself. Feel free, especially on Freedom Fridays. But Pago On, we are here to introduce you back to yourself every morning at 5:30 on weekdays. Stretch that self-awareness like a muscle. Supercharge your morning. Get aware, get active in the morning. Wake up, metaphorically, but physically. Get that body feeling great objectively. At your will, does that feel so great? Isn't that better than sex? You know what? This is your morning wood. Feels so great on Pago On. Your morning wood feels so great on Pago On. Getting you feel amazing. Wake up every morning, every day. What if we lived in a world where we acknowledged you, where we acknowledged the sense of self, where we lived in a world where we acknowledged everything about the human being itself first and foremost, because the human being is the translator of everything. The human being is the translator of everything. Say it with me. The human being is the translator of everything. Say it with me. The human being is the translator of everything. Well, at first that could be scary, right? Here on Pago On, as we're starting to talk about the sense of self, right? On Friday, July 9th, 2021, on Earth, Milky Way galaxy. Talking about our sense of self. And today on Freedom Fridays, before we hit that 15-minute mark, let me take a small break. Because it is Freedom Friday, I want you to do whatever the heck you want. I want you to feel great in that godlike body of yours. Are you brushing your teeth right now? Who knows? Are you making a bagel? I love bagels. On Freedom Fridays, what are we here to talk about today on July 9, 2021? Freedom Fridays. We're here to talk about how I want you to live inside out. How do we be free on Freedom Fridays, where we love life and not fear death every day on Pago On? But on Freedom Fridays, how do we live today? Live inside out. Look at the screen. Now look at you. Look at the screen. Now look at you. Now look at the screen. Now look at you again. I want you to live inside out. Live inside out today on this Freedom Friday. Feel amazing in that body of yours. And live inside out. How do you live inside out, Herbie? Well, you don't stretch yourself thin trying to do things that are not within you, that are not for you. Stretching yourself thin for things that are outside of you. That's living outside in, right? By living for things that are out from the outside world, right? Living for money, living for motivation from other people. Living as though the outside world can provide you the strength that you need to keep going on the inside world. Which is no big deal. That's what we would all think. As in, what else do you gauge your life on? I need money. I need food. Oh, if it's not food, I need relationships. Aren't those all inside world things, Herbie? Is that not still living? Is that not living inside out like you asked me to? Living inside out in a literal sense. As in, as opposed to going out there to look for things to make you feel validated and make you feel good, literally go inside deep as you can towards the center, towards yourself, to find validation, to find authenticity, to find value, to find strength for yourself, to overcome suffering. What does that mean, Herbie? What does that mean, Herbie? Go inside. Do you want me to reach inside my belly button? What does that mean, Herbie? Go inside. What does that mean, Herbie? How do we live inside out? I didn't know I was living outside in. We are always living outside in at the moment. Most of us are living outside in. We start off we start off as babies living inside out, and then you learn to live outside in, but we never learn how to live inside out again. And you want to live inside out again because you want to be like a child as a kid. You want to, or as an adult, you want your brain to remain youthful as you grow older and your body gets older, right? As in, you want to be able to view the world with a zest of youth. And you want to be able to be fluid and enjoy all the wackiness and the fluidity that life will bring you. So how do we do that? We have to live inside out the way a child does. As in, a child goes after what they want, no fear of what might happen, and whatever happens, well, that's the world happening to that child, but the child was constantly going after what they want. They were living inside out. They're going after their own motivations from the inside. It's hard to tell what those inside motivations are after a while because we always live outside in for a while, right? As we learn to adjust to society, we learn to live outside in. As in, we look at the way people look at us to decide how to feel about ourselves. We look at the way the world on the outside. We're looking on the outside world. We're using our senses of the world to avoid the world. To not make sense of the world, but rather to survive in the world. We're using our sense of the world to live outside in, as in the world dictated where we would go. The world dictated where we would go because we were living outside in. And we can't help it because our senses draw us outside. Our senses, literally our 5 basic senses, our senses towards the outside world, right? We typically think of senses as senses towards the outside world, right? As in, like, we use our senses to understand the outside world. But we do have that last 6th sense here in Padawan. Caveats! You have that 6th sense here. So we have the extra sense, the sense of self, which grounds the other senses. Should you not have this kinesthetic sense of self, your ability to feel that your head is different than your feet, your left hand is different from your right hand, or that these words go in one ear and out the other, and how your body feels when it happens? Your sense of self, which sometimes when you have a stomachache, you can feel your stomach, or your sense of self shifts when you don't have a stomachache and your body is much more neutral. When you hear something really loud, your whole sense of self kind of contracts, right? Your sense of self grounds all of your other senses. Your other senses interact because of your sense of self, your kinesthesia, your 6th sense. Our 6th sense, which allows us to live, hey, inside out. It actually allows us to live inside out. Isn't that amazing? Our only sense that we can use towards the inside world. Herbie, why would you need to feel your intestines? Why would you need to feel your tailbone? Why would you need to feel your rib cage? Well, possibly to adjust your sense of self, your breathing, right? Did you know that you die every 5 minutes? That timer is reset with every breath. I'll say that again. Did you know that you die every 5 minutes? But that counter is reset every time you take a breath. Did you know you die every 5 minutes? But that counter is just reset every time you take a breath. Now, fear not, because your body is actually designed to take a breath even though you don't want it to. Your body is so designed with all these great things right here on this blue sign, these blue lines behind me if you're not looking at the screen. If you don't see me, it's just a diagram of the rainbow arches superimposed over a pelvis bone. An amazing picture, and if you can't see it, you should bring up YouTube. It feels so good to look at that and place your weight of the body down in front of the spine like it's doing, and into the rainbow arches at all times. Now, why does it matter if we can feel our tailbone, Herbie? Why would you want to feel your rib cage? Why does it matter that we have this kinesthesia that we can feel our own body with our own sense? Who cares? We use our sense of the world to make sense of the world. On Pal Go On, that's what we do. But you're like, Herbie, I use my sense of the world already to make sense of the world. But do you? Or do you use your sense of half of the world? As you are half of the world. The world is not composed of just you, of just the world, but also you, the observer, who translates the world, right? The human is the translator. As in, there's so many infinite things in the world. What do you look at? We know that there's infinite things in the world. We know that there's certain things that we look at. Right? There's certain things that our body, our soul, tends to look at. Our human experience tends to look at. Because they're just more relevant to our ability to get what we want in life. We look at the sidewalk more than we look at the individual blades of grass. Because we want to make sure that we can continue our path. But with this sixth sense, we can live inside out. We have a sense that goes towards the inside world. And why is it a good thing that we can feel where our tailbone is? Well, maybe so that we know that we're not placing weight there. Because it is not intended to place weight there. So maybe it's a good thing that we can feel our sense of self so that we can get the best breath that we can. Because since we die every 5 minutes, it's so important that the breaths that we are getting feel better than the last because they can feel like death. Our breaths are so important to us, they can feel like death. Because we die every 5 minutes, but that counter is reset with every breath. Now your body is designed to take a breath consciously, subconsciously, and unconsciously. How is that possible that it can take a breath unconsciously? Kind of like a rubber band. It doesn't have a soul, it doesn't have a brain, but it returns to its position when you have no tension on it. It returns to its original state just due to its elasticity and its design. The fact that it's looped in on itself sometimes if you're using like a circular one, and the fact that its molecular structure allows it to do that. All of its arrangement, right? Our body's kind of like that in the sense that when it's unconscious, when you're sleeping, there's some rubber band type stuff going on in the inside to keep those lungs open for you. Your lungs. Did you know that some of your lungs exist behind you? A lot of your lungs actually exist behind you. And above and behind your shoulders. It's like a backpack. You might notice how your shoulders raise when you think about it. Your lungs being a backpack like that. Notice how your brain is so smart. Your brain-like and your body-like is so strong and so smart that even just thinking about placing your weight of the body in the proper places will allow your body to feel more free already, to feel better in your body already. Using our sixth sense. Why is that so good? Because we can live inside out. What does that mean? As in living towards what we want, towards what our body wants, not towards what the world dictates or what we think that people want us to do. Why would we not want to live outside in? Well, because you can never satisfy an outside in living world. What do you mean, Herbie? As in, if you're always looking towards other people, outside things that are not you, to decide how you feel, you can never satisfy those things. Let's say you want enough money. How much money is enough money? Your body doesn't know, it's just a body. How much food is enough food? Your body doesn't know, it's just a body. How much relationship is enough relationship? Well, check your sense of self. Is your body just a body? Looking outside in to live in the inside world. It's to live outside in, but we're always living in the inside world. You're always living inside your body. So to live it outside in is a flaw. Because let's say you're trying to live outside in, you're trying to live for the approval of your parents. You can never do. Because first of all, you can never decide, or that you can never understand exactly what they want because they don't even know what they want. They're just this mystery of a human being. Look at yourself. You're trying to figure out what it is that you want. It's so difficult. Let alone for another person. And then you have to decide, you have to check first what they think, and then you have to try to orient towards that. Humans are already unreasonable, emotional on the inside, so you can't even read what their mind is doing. So the first step, if you want to live outside in, if you want to try to make people proud, living by the outside in, you have to live by their approval of what they say their approval is. Ooh, there's so many layers. Layer number one, you're first going to have to try to mind guess what the heck it is will make them proud. Now there's an issue because first, that person must know what makes them proud for you to understand that. Second of all, now you got to read their mind. Third of all, if you don't read their mind, you got to read their actions because they have to then tell you how they feel. Or show you how they feel, how they want you, what you can do to make them proud. They'd have to tell you all that stuff. And then furthermore, they'd have to say all that stuff honestly and without mistake for you to understand that. Which is hard because humans have all these like pressures. Maybe they're trying to be considerate of you when they're trying to tell you what would make them proud. Maybe they're trying to lead you slowly if they're trying to tell you what would make them proud. Or some people might try to tell you like their ultimate goal, like I want you to be an astronaut. And maybe that's what their strategy of like trying to tell you what makes them proud. And that's all a poor reflection of what's actually going on in their inside world, right? That complicated inside world we are only just so able to just barely communicate what it is that we want people to understand about us, right? We're just so barely able to communicate about ourselves, this crazy inside world. And yet, if you're living outside in, you're expecting yourself to live towards the expectations of something like that, this muddled idea of like this inside world that they're only just barely able to describe with words. There's this whole inside world that you're trying to appease. Living outside in is a horrible nightmare. Living outside in is a horrible nightmare. We should take a break. Living outside in is a horrible nightmare. Let's think about why living inside out. Let's before we talk about living inside out, it might be easier to describe what living outside in is, because we are all always pretty much living outside in these days, which is why Pago On has landed on Earth. We are all living outside in right now. It sounds like a horrible nightmare, living outside in, trying to live through the validation, through the acceptance and the power and the strength of outside forces, trying to appease outside forces to gain strength and to gain awareness and to gain peace from within. Looking to the outside to gain stuff within just sounds like a nightmare, especially when you consider people are just such a mess of just confusion and dishonesty and like struggle and security, but compassion and hope and truth and love. It's awesome that it's all in there, but to try to orient your inside world towards the outside reflections of someone else, the outside expressions of someone else who also has their inside world, sounds like a horrible nightmare. They're just so tumultuous. You can never fit within those bounds. Can't even decide what the bounds are to try to make someone proud. Someone else, try to live outside in, try to make the world proud, try to do stuff for the world to feel good about yourself. Sounds like a nightmare. Just think about that though. Like why what else? Why might it be a bad thing to live outside in, to live death fearing? As in, to live within the bounds that other people set for you so that you can survive within those bounds. Fearing death so much that you have to live within the bounds of outside forces. Fearing death so much that you have to live within the bounds of outside people. Fearing death so much that you have to live within the bounds of what you think the world wants you to do. Fearing death so much that you live outside in. You live according to what the world says you can do, otherwise you're dead. Otherwise, you lose. And what are some dangers? Why might it be bad to live outside in? I'll be right back. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world peace through individual strength, waking your world up physically, mentally, spiritually, metaphorically, figuratively, and then physically again. Objectively feel good on the Only No Nonsense podcast. Brought to you by the Best Feeling Network. I am Herbie, and this is Pago. Welcome back to another Freedom Friday. It is July 9, 2021, 6:04 a.m. I want to welcome you back to Pago On. How are you feeling? Be able to place the weight of the body down the front of the spine and instant rainbow arch at all the times. Wait, feeling the front of your shins and then remembering that you do not sit on your legs. Happy Freedom Fridays, guys. I want to welcome you to another Freedom Friday. Live inside out. Now, what we do here on Pago On is talk about stuff in a real way. As in, we're not just going to leave you without a paddle. What do we mean by live inside out? We're not just going to throw at you some random spiritual platitudes and just be on our way and be like, peace. Now we're going to give you some actionable info, some stuff to just really think about. Did you know that the human brain, or philosophy, has always followed its ideas of human beings? It's always languaged it out. It always talked about it throughout history in the language of their most latest technology. As in, like, Leonardo DiCaprio or something. Like Da Vinci or something, like, would relate, for example, would relate the body or the human experience to, like, their version of a helicopter at the time, or their version of locomotion at the time, or someone in a different era, if they would have a steam engine, they would describe the human being as the human body's experience as a steam engine. Now what they're doing is, what are we doing? We're describing the human body as, or the human experience as, an AI, right? That's our latest version of technology. So it's nothing new that we describe the human experience with technology. But what we need to know is that it's always just using the latest technology, right? So our brain, our experience of, like, our own experience, like, our ideas of our own experience expands with our understanding of the world. Why is that? Because we are half of the world. We understand the world. We live in the world. So whatever we learn about the real world applies to us necessarily, because we are part of the real world. So we tend to not just describe our experience with this language, but our experience of our lives expands and grows with our ability to describe it. As in, it evolves. When we begin to see ourselves more and understand ourselves more, we are able to see more of what we can do. As in, when you are able to see more of what the bike looks like, when you reveal more of what bike looks like and how the bike works, you can begin to make adjustments that benefit its design. You can make decisions like how to balance the bike properly so that it attains maximum speed and balance and stability. And how do you do that? By knowing more about what makes the bike work. So when we find out what makes more of the world work, we begin then applying those to the human being. So now, let's introduce ourselves to some more technology. What do we do? How do we live inside out? Why weren't we living inside out before? We were living inside out to the best of our ability. As in, we were always trying to get what we want. We're always trying to live inside out. We're always trying to get we're always trying to do what's best for ourselves from the inside out, right? We're always trying to, but using what we know about the world, we can only get so far. But now we can go a little bit further here on Pago On. Go a little further, as in we can expand our brain a little bit on this. What do we mean by live inside out? What's funny is that what we mean by live inside out is it's kind of a time thing almost, in the sense that when we say live inside out, we mean live here and now. Live in the moment here and now. Because what is living outside in? Living outside in, as we asked before, we said, what are the dangers of living outside in, right? What might that look like? Is looking at other people and looking at the world around you to decide how to act, how to feel about yourself, how important you should feel about yourself, how valuable you should feel. We tend to look at the outside world right now, as in we tend to look at everything else but the sense of self. As in we'll look at like how many numbers we have in our bank account, how many dollars are around, how many friends are around us to validate ourselves, right? How much good things are around us, how many cool expensive things are around us, how many cool lights are around, how many people are talking to me on Facebook. There's all these outside things, right? Even when we get closer and closer, how much good food am I able to eat? How much good sleep am I getting? How much all these things for ourselves. How much water do I get to drink? We think that our relationship to ourselves are all these outside things. How many things are out there outside of the body that I can bring towards me, as opposed to looking the inside out? Herbie, what do you mean live inside out? As in, we couldn't do it before, but literally live inside out. As in, look towards the inside first, prioritize the inside world, and then go outwards. Because your inside world is the only thing that's always here, it's always present. Everything else is always just a reaction to something that might be. This outside world, living outside in, is living for what might be. You are living in times that are not now. That's what living outside in is. As in, do I have enough friends? Well, how do you know? Well, it was more than yesterday. Or it's more than zero. And tomorrow, I want to make sure that I have more than how much I have now. Living outside in, like, oh no, this moment could be better. I could have more friends. Living outside in, right? Oh no, I need to get that money. I should have more money. I should do this. Living outside in, right? Living outside in is like, oh no, this moment could be different. Oh no, I want this person to treat me different. Oh no, they said that thing to me. I wanted them to say it like this to me instead. Oh no, that's living outside in, right? Wishing for other moments. Living outside in. Looking at the way the world could be and trying to make the inside world feel good based on that. But looking at what the world could be always requires looking at what the world could be, which requires a sense of comparison of a world to some other time in your head. Or maybe some other time, well, they're all in your head, right? Any other time that is not now is in your head. But that's the future, the past. And aren't you living outside in if you're looking towards what you might get in the future, or what might happen in the past? Or sorry, what might happen in the future? What might have happened in the past? Oh, I don't want this past thing to repeat again. Oh, I don't want them to say that to me again. Oh, I'm scared that they might do this. Oh, well, if I go up to the cashier and tell her that I think she's pretty, she might do that. How do you know? How do you know? That's living so outside in, right? Death fearing. It's living outside in. As in looking at outside times that are not now. And using that to define what you should do right now, what your inside world does right now. Does your inside world, your muscles, your bones, do they propel you towards taking this chance, towards possibly gaining through high risk, high reward? Does your inside world allow you to do that? Or are you living outside in and have all of these situations in your head that might be dictating what you do right now? Are you living outside in? Trying to predict the future. Trying to think about times that are not now, or your bones are not now. And so aren't you working within a limited capacity, wherever that may be, wherever that future may be, wherever that past might be that you're trying to get into? It's just defined and it's closing in on you. As you're living outside in, doesn't your world close in on you necessarily? As you can only appease one thing at a time, or so many things at a time. You can't appease everything around you at all times. You are surrounded by this world that you cannot control, yet you want to live by it? You want to live outside in? You want to live by the boundaries of the world? You want to live by the assumed boundaries that this world places on you? Because you are half of that world, right? You are half of the world that you experience. You are the interpreter, the translator of the world, that all you see, right? You concern yourself with certain things, right? You are the translator. And we want you to feel so good here on Pal Go On. You are the translator, right? So you are the translator of this world. So you are deciding, and you are assuming and implying already, or assuming already, implying. You are this half of this world that you experience. So you are the one assuming already these guidelines that the world places on you, this outside world, and then you try to fit, and you try to nestle yourself and be safe within these boundaries that the world is placing on you from all these different directions, because you are necessarily surrounded by the world, right? It is surrounding you, right? You are surrounded by the world. So if you're living outside in, you're just trying to dodge the bullets, the onslaught of bullets that are coming at you from a 3D spectrum. That's living outside in. Living outside in, trying to conform to the shape that the outside world is trying to get you to conform to. And if you step out of bounds, you're no longer within the safety of this world. Well, guess what? You were never within the safety of this world. Never within the safety of this world, because that is trying to do the impossible. That is trying to get the world to conform to you. That is trying to control the world, which we all know is an impossible feat. That is not a sad thing. What is a sad thing is trying to change that fact. But once we know about it, we just accept it. No one gets sad over it. We just accept it. We're just like, oh, for sure. Now I can focus myself on other things. It might be sad because we might be trying to change the design. We might be trying to say, oh, we should be able to live outside in. It might be sad to watch somebody try to change that design, but is the design itself sad? No. Is gravity sad? No, it just exists. Is time sad? No, it just exists, right? Is the existence of sexes sad? No, it just exists, right? All these things just exist. Gravity is always pulling on you. We just deal with it. Time is just always happening. We just deal with it. When there's an unstoppable wave, we live through it, because we find out that is one of our girders, one of our rules of our worlds. Like here on Pal Go On, we're giving you actionable, talkable, inside world language. Right? Is it sad that living outside in is so terrifying and horribly nightmare-like? Is it sad? Well, maybe for the people going through it right now, because they know this is like, it feels sad because it feels like you can't get out of it. But what if you could get out of it? We all saw living outside in, conforming to this outside world. You go on Twitter right now, you go on the internet right now, you Google things, you go on Instagram, you go on D-Life, you go on talk shows, you go on mainstream medias. You notice right now that living outside in is not just seen as bad, but it's seen as the only way to live. It is not yet known, apparently, by the mainstream. It is not yet known, apparently, by the majority of the population of Earth, that there's another way to live besides outside in. And how do you know we've been living outside in? Well, look at the victim culture. Look at the cancel culture. Literally living outside in. Their inside worlds, in order for their inside worlds to be quelled, they must control the outside world. This flawed worldview, to think that we could ever do that anyway. We could begin to try to scratch the surface, but that's like trying to break through a glacier with your bare fingers, not even using nail. You'll get some dust off. You'll be able to cancel some people. You'll control some people, but that's a gigantic wave. You can never control all of the world. No wonder they're all screaming like... Now, that's how you would feel too. That's how I would feel if I felt like I was tasked. If I felt like I was... If it was my responsibility and if it was my task to hold up this unmovable force that is nature itself, that is trying to make my inside world safe by controlling the outside world. If my task was to do something like that impossible, you bet I'd be screaming like that too. It's like, wow, they really put that responsibility on me? There's no way I'm ever doing that. So why is it a good thing that we finally know that you can never do that? Bro, normally you'd be like, hey, you can't tell me what to do. No, but chill. It's a good thing. We tell you what you can't do because it's what we all can't do. As in, like, a whale is not going to fly 900 feet in the air for an upwards amount of 2 hours. It's just not what they do. Do we get sad about that? No, it just lives a different kind of life. Do we get sad about the fact that we can't control the outside world to make our inside worlds feel good? No, it actually liberates you. Because now you're not that. Because you're not feeling like you're tasked with this impossible task. They feel that way not because they want power, maybe, but also because they feel powerless. Why would you feel powerless? Well, maybe you might feel like you have to do something. You might feel like you are trapped, like you have to do something that you cannot do. Like you have to hold up this wall that you cannot hold up. Like you have to go against this force of nature, of the world. Like they're telling you have to control the world in order for your inside world to be happy, but that's not true, right? How does our world change? How does our ability to feel good? How does our ability to feel good in our own body? How does our ability to revive ourselves every 5 minutes, right? Because we die every 5 minutes. That counter, that timers are set every time we take a breath. How do we use that? What does it matter that we can use our sense of self? What does it matter that we can make ourselves feel good? What is our relationship with ourselves? What does that matter? Well, because maybe now we can live inside out. Have we beaten into our heads why living outside in is a bad thing yet? Trying to control like space asteroids, trying to dodge everybody's looks at you, trying to dodge everyone's judgments, trying to make this person proud, trying to do that over there, trying to get money over here. You stretch yourself thin. You stretch yourself thin. It's impossible. It's not that it's not valiant. It's not that it's not like respectable that you want to do all these things, that you want to make these people happy, that you want to see your mom proud, that you want to see your dad proud. It's not that it's unrespectable that you want to do those things. It's that to do those things, how do we do those things? How is it possible to do all those things? Well, it's impossible to control the world, and it's impossible to make everybody happy all the time. So living outside in is an impossible way to be happy all the time, to feel great in your body all the time, to feel weightless, to unlock that superpower within you. You cannot live outside in. You cannot live according to this world defining you, where you're allowed to be happy, where you're allowed to laugh, where you're allowed to stand, where you're allowed to do anything. Because you can never understand all those rules anyway. Even if you were perfect, even if you were the perfect little baby, you're the perfect son, it's perfect daughter, even if you were this perfection that you wanted to be, that your parents made you feel like you should be, you could never, ever, ever even know what all the rules are anyway. On top of that, there's more than one person in the world. It's not just your mama. It's not just your dada. So then you have to conform to the rules of many people? Good luck. You will never. Even if you were perfect, you cannot be so perfect as a human being as to be as everywhere at the same time. It's just impossible. It is in your design to be imperfect because you cannot be at all places at one time. So you're always imperfect. You are a human being, and that's a good thing. And we love that about you. That's what makes us relatable. That's what we relate on. Our missteps, our times where we lived outside in. It's like, whoops, my bad. That was silly. That was dumb. How do we feel free on Freedom Fridays? How do we feel free on Freedom Fridays? We update our thinking. We expand our world of thinking of ourselves. We expand the power within ourselves to feel freer within this world. To feel more free in this world is not to abide by more worlds of... To feel freer in this world is not to abide by more rules of the world, but to find and abide by more rules of the inside world, not the outside. And it sounds like poppycock to a lot of things, to a lot of people right away, right? You're like, live inside it, good platitude, No, but really, as in live in the moment, as in there is no other moment than now, as in to be fearing what you, as in to be fearing the consequences of what the world has for you, as in to be thinking about what this person wants you to do, about what your job expects you to do, about what would make your parents proud, about what would make that girl like you, about what would make these kids respect you, by looking at by trying to understand and trying to discern what all of that means from every individual person, and living outside in, by learning about yourself through the outside world, by learning about what will help you succeed, by just strictly looking at the outside world, like trying to look at these people, trying to look at what they want from you to decide what you should do, is necessarily it's a time thing. You're thinking about other times. You're thinking about hypothetical times of what might happen. In order to be respected by this kid, you're thinking about, oh, what do they like? So you're thinking about another time where what do they like there? Or what might it be that they would want for their dad? Or, oh, what does this girl want from me? Oh, well, I'm gonna like look at her past. I'm gonna like look at her future. I'm gonna try to calculate all these things. You're looking at outside times, right? Just sapping your energy from being able to act in the moment in which people live. That's where people live. We live in the moment. They're not watching you. They're not looking at your brain where it's going. We live in the moment. They can only see what you outwardly express, reflect to the body, to the outside world in the moment. Your body and what they can read from you only necessarily lives in the moment. That's living inside out, in the moment. Because living outside in means thinking about other moments. And what happens is that your body gets conflicted, your body gets in disarray, it gets hard to understand itself, becomes confused as you're thinking about other times. Your body doesn't just sit still. It's not integrated in the moment, it's thinking about other times. So it's obvious to the body and other people around you just by your attention. They can see what your attention on. It's on outside things, which means you are living outside in, which means you are fearing death. You are fearing what might happen, which requires the idea of comparison to other times, right? To fear a time that might happen, you must be comparing this time to another time. Living outside in, living death fearing, not life loving. To live life loving, you live here and now. As in, you're feeling the weight of the body in the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all the times. And do we say that as a joke? Well, kinda. It's kind of funny. But at the same time, because it's your body and bones are here and now and in the moment. Going inwardly, you're always thinking about the moment. You're always thinking about here and now, where your flesh is. Where you go outwardly, you're always comparing or thinking about other moments that are not now. You're living outwardly, you're living outside in. You're thinking about what might be, what you want, what you're thinking about attaining, what it might take to get there. Thinking about what will I have? Will it be enough when I get there? Will they like me when I get there? If I do this, will they like me? Why don't they like me? Is it because I did this? Thinking about that time again instead of the new moment that you're in. Guess what? All the time you spend thinking about the other times, guess where your body keeps going? Further and further away. It keeps slipping into this new moment. You can't help it. That's just how it is. No wonder we don't feel free. We're living outside in. You're forced to conform to this web. You're like stuck in a web. You're like a fly in this web of the world, and the spider's slowly chewing on your soul, or wrapping you up or something, or it's just waiting to get to you. You're just stuck in this web, right? You're just like, I claim to love the things that I want so much. Like, I claim to love all my things, my outside world things. I love this anime, I love this food, I love my friends. I claim to love these things so much that I'm going to conform and just stick in this web, and I'm going to stay in this position forever. So I can continue to get the things that I have, because I'm too scared that I won't get anything better. Just death fearing. It's like, I'm so scared of losing these things so bad, I'm going to stay in this exact position, call it freedom. And anytime anything tickles me, stop that. Thank you for that. Just go right back and sitting in your web in that same position and just wait for something good to happen to you again. Or until a spider devours you. Just waiting, just like hoping again. No action. No freedom. No ability to actually go for what you want. But just like a sucker. Just like taking what you get. Like, I'll stay here because I value longevity. I just rather not die. I just want to stay here long enough to get a little bit of my pleasure and then die when I die. But I'm so scared of dying that I'm not going to go out to get more pleasure. I'm just going to let the world happen to me. It's like life. That is living outside in. You're just like you're just conforming to this like world that you don't even know if that's how the world wants you to be. First of all, because you can never descend the world completely and 100% using the outside world senses. So we're always going to be conforming to this way that we think the world wants us to be. Why? So that we can get the most stuff that we can most conveniently. Because we're so addicted to this stuff. Why would we be so addicted to this outside stuff? Because we didn't have a way to feel ourselves on the inside easily. These outside world things make us feel good on the body. Temporary solution. So we felt always that we had to conform to this thing because it's like, okay, I want good things, but I gotta conform and stay here. But going after for what you really want, that's the true freedom. And how do we get that? By living inside out. As in, no longer will I let the outside world define for me when I feel good, when I feel valuable. Because that's always looking at outside world things. That's always looking at times that are not this, right? Necessarily. Because you're always trying to make the outside world make you feel good on the inside. Since it is not you, it is not always within you, you always know that it will exhaust one day. And so there was always a fear that it will leave you one day, these things in the outside world. The food that you ate, right? That steak that you ate, it goes inside you and then it leaves you. Right? But how about your relationship with yourself? What if we grow that? What if we are able to make ourselves feel good voluntarily? What would that be like? What if you were able to give your soul a nice massage whenever it wanted to, with a happy ending that actually didn't end, but actually made your next breath feel better and the next breath feel better? You die every 5 minutes and that timer is reset with a breath. No wonder it feels death-fearing to not focus on a breath, to not focus on making the next breath feel better. Because if every breath is a life and death, if every breath is an idea, every breath is an idea, so every exhale is a death, and every inhale is a life, right? And what if the next one felt worse than the last? Isn't that hell? If the next breath felt worse than the last, you just keep getting revived. But this time it's worse than the last time. Breath is worse than the last time. How does that happen? By losing our connection with a sense of self? By living outside in. Trying to pull our body into all sorts of impossible directions to try to appease a world which is impossible. You can't control the world. You cannot appease the entire world. But what you can do is satisfy the self and body by feeling so aware of the inside self, of where it should be, and allowing the feeling that your body gets to guide what you do next. You're always in the moment, because you're always feeling your body. As we know, the body is able to move on its own. Should we try to live the world inside out? We might look at a piece of artwork, but instead of examining the artwork and deciding how we feel about the artwork based on how people will see us, or based on how people will think about us, or based on what we think the artwork's supposed to do, no, look at the piece of artwork and feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the times. Now gauge that. We're living inside out, baby, right? Now gauge that. How does your body feel when you look at that artwork? You can live inside out, all the way inside out. You'll have some spirituality telling you to live inside out, and they're not wrong. When you have to live inside out, you should be living for what you want and not this outside world. Here on Pal Go On, it might be easier to define what living outside in is. We should not live outside in. We should not be living to try to conform this world. If you're trying to be free on Fridays here on Pal Go On, using your sixth sense, we should not conform. We should not live outside in. It's impossible. Free yourself, baby. Free yourself from that web. By just knowing that it is an impossible task to try to appease the world around you, to try to fit within this web. That's an impossible task anyway. You want to be liked? Or trying to look at what they want, trying to decide what they want from you, try to look into their past or their future, try to understand what they like, trying to live outside in, living out, like trying to live on all those moments. It's living outside in, right? You're looking at all these other moments that are not this moment, trying to discern how you should feel in this moment. No, live inside out. Live in this moment. Decide how you feel in your body, using the weight of the body in the front of the spine into the rainbow arches at all times. Feel the front of the shins, and then remembering that you do not sit on your legs, suspending the ground gently by a thread. Living in the inside out means living now, living here and now. How does your body feel now? What do you think is right now? And people will respect that more now, because people will respect the fact that you do not try to control the world. And so you are more integrated into the reality that everybody else is forced to live in. We cannot control the outside world. We should not live in moments that are not this. To feel free on Freedom Fridays, we should live in the moments that are only now. Feel the front. think that it was a great Friday. I hope that you were able to feel the weight of the body right in the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all the time. Happy Freedom Friday! It is Friday, July 9, 2021. Happy Freedom Friday. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Take care of yourself, guys. We are always going to be here every weekday, 5:30, or if not, yell at us on Twitter. But we'll be here at 5:30 on the weekdays, every morning. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world, everybody. World peace through individual strength. Waking you up in every sort of the way, objectively. Feeling good on the only no-nonsense podcast. Brought to you by the Best Feeling Network. My name is Herbie, and this is Absolutely Pago On. Happy Freedom Friday, everybody. Live inside out, not outside in. And fly, baby, fly. Sorry about that. Here we go. We love y'all.